What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today when I talk to you about SoFi, I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what is moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi is down slightly, 0.18%, 26.20 the low, 27.50 the high, and 42.9 million shares being traded. 71 is the average. So another very low volume day. Today, we haven't really had that much in data points. A couple of Fed speakers, more notably Goolsbee, but even that was very inconsistent because they started out by saying that they're projecting more rate cuts than the median. That's for 2026. And then they kind of pivot by saying this, that it's super important that Fed maintain its independence so monetary policy is set without political interference, aka Trump. And so how I interpret this comment is saying that we will be cutting, just don't anticipate anytime soon. This obviously isn't what the market wants to kind of see. And no different than what happened after hours on Wednesday with Oracle earnings, we did also have Broadcom put out their earnings after hours yesterday. And similarly, there was a lot of fears, and that's kind of causing some ripples across the broader market, bringing up the whole multiple type of comments and fears again. This is some highlights from Broadcom's earnings, more specifically the risks and concerns. So this is exactly what is causing kind of some fears. So gross margins, looks like supply chain constraints. So feel free to kind of pause it and go through it. But ultimately at the time of doing this video, Broadcom is down 12%. So they're getting hit quite hard. Today, nothing really new from SoFi, no SEC filings, no press releases, no speculative topics, no new analyst ratings, although every time SoFi and the broader market starts to turn a little bit bearish, you always have dumb bear analysts come out. They come out of their little cave and then they say, hey, you know what? SoFi is a massive sell. And then that just escalates the kind of sell off. Don't be surprised if Monday we get one or two posted ones. I just have a very weird feeling that something is going to be coming down the pipeline. All in all, though, SoFi is actually doing fairly well. I know a lot of people might be kind of crapping on it and very negative sentiment, but in comparison to Robinhood, which is down 3%, Webull down 5%, it's definitely doing fairly well. Upstart, though, which, as I mentioned yesterday, is probably the more comparable one that it should be kind of looked at. That one is green, surprisingly, and so that one is up 0.49%. But still, though, SoFi, I think, in my opinion, is kind of holding up fairly well. Looking at shorts, they are increasing 150,000 shares. 9.8% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 115 million shares overall being shorted. So shorts are honestly all over the place. I feel like even they don't really know what the hell is going on because they kind of increase for 2-3 consecutive days. They return for 2. There is no real rhyme or reason. I know typically they like to kind of increase enough just to break SoFi on the technicals. But luckily enough, SoFi's technicals hands down is what saved SoFi, because even going over here, this was one crazy sell-off. So it bounced exactly off of a very strong support. So I'll go over that in a second. Looking at the options, kind of low dollar value, so 29 million in calls, 11 million in puts. Net premiums did go down by about 1.8 million. I think going forward as well, what I might be doing, I'll go over some of the hot chains. I don't know if you guys will care about that, but I feel like for those individuals that like to do SoFi options, you might get some utility out of that. So going forward, maybe next week I'll start to do that. But today, 46% so far of the options being done are bearish in nature. I say so far because we still have about 15 minutes left in the trading day. Aside from that, there was a anticipation for it to be kind of between that 27 and 27.50, so that might still come to fruition. Big thing for today, though, with it being Friday, this is the open interest. So if for whatever reason it's able to close above that 27, you'll have 7,000 in open interest. I think it's fair to assume that we won't be seeing 27.50 and above. So big one for today is just as long as they can hold that 27. So far, it seems to be doing fairly okay, but we've seen SoFi get manipulated quite a lot on the secondary market. So this is, again, where I like to dive deep into where volume does truly come from. This right here shows a lot of inconsistencies because big money doesn't know as well what the hell to do. Half are buys, half are sells. So big money is kind of all over the place. They don't really know, is this legitimate fear? Is this just more of one of those opportunities to buy the dip? It's very torn. So anything with a ask is a buy, everything with a bid is a sell. So again, very equally divided. Although one thing to take note of though is of the volume, most of it is actually coming from institutions. So we see very, very active. So this is all over the place. Still, again, very all over the place. A lot of buys, a lot of sells. Dark pool, these are all the transactions there. Nothing significant. So the largest one is 1.5 million. So matches with shorts not really doing too much in reality. 1.5 million. So yeah, it looks like some ones are just coming in now. So 1.1 million. Aside from that, with it at 27.10. So hopefully SoFi closes in the green. That would be pretty epic. But right now it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So 27.04 is going to be a strong support. It was kind of flirting with that when I was doing kind of throughout this video, but looks like it wants to close solidly green. But one thing that really did save SoFi was this S2, 26.22. So that was a strong support that, like I said, it kind of bounced off of. If we didn't have that, and if that would have broken, then things could have got very out of control, in my opinion. But nonetheless, looking on the actual chart, still nothing too crazy to be optimistic about. I think still based on this, it could go either way. Luckily enough, it kind of was able to fight back and get above that 100-day moving average. But still, like I said, I think it's kind of stuck between this wedge of the 50 and 100-day moving averages. So stay tuned for my video over the weekend where I go over some expectations, where it might be going, what's going to influence the price, and some days to watch for. But stochastic RSI is at 31. Because of all the crappy price action, it is considered very oversold. So that could as well really help it going into next couple of trading days. There really hasn't been anything for articles, which is rather surprising, but market position, you kind of see just nothing really changing from today versus yesterday all that much. Like I said, don't be surprised if we do get some crappy ratings coming down the pipeline, because that's what bears love to do. They're very strategic when they give their ratings. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Were you able to buy the dip? Were you able to sell? What were you doing with SoFi? And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid on-point buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.